In this episode of Need to Know Influencer Marketing, we're going to talk about how to scam your way into becoming an Instagram influencer. Hello, marketing fanatics. I'm Mark Fidelman of Fanatics Media, marketing that influences. And joining me is Gil Eyal, CEO of Hyper. So, Gil, how are you going to scam your way into becoming an Instagram influencer?
I'm already an influencer. I don't need to scam my way on parenting and toys.
Okay, parenting and toys, great. So what we're talking about today, of course, is this Mashable article about two Instagram influencers that a company called Media Kicks kind of invented. One was a travel photographer. I don't remember. I think they were both travel photographers. And on one of the platforms, and some of these platforms are a little sketchy. Some of them are great. I like FameBit and I like a few others. They were hired. These fake Instagram influencers were hired for $100 each and offered $300 worth of product to promote them. Now, the moral of the article, of course, is you got to be careful which influencers you hire, and they're proving that there's not a lot of people looking at the influencers joining these platforms, including the brand. So, from my perspective, Gil, I blame the platform second, and I blame the brand first, because it's not hard to determine if an Instagram influencer is scammy or not. It's really not that difficult. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we have to remember the scammers are becoming more and more sophisticated. It used to be that you would just buy followers. Now they're buying actual engagement on their posts. Yeah. And the challenge is that most of these platforms are really just a layer of like really thin technology with an agency behind them. They're trying to activate influencers and they give the feeling that they have technology, because we can easily identify fake followers. We can identify based on where the location is. Why would somebody who's got a primarily US audience suddenly have a huge following in Indonesia? Why would they all have followers with no content on their pages? Why are all those followers following each other? So a little bit of sophistication immediately pulls it out, and you can see who has real engagement, who has fake engagement. But there's just no investment in this space. It's so skin deep.
Yeah, and why do you think that is? Why is there not a lot of investigation going on? I mean, is this mad gold rush to influencers to do any kind of promotion whatsoever? Or is there something else at play?
I think it's part of the confusion. People just don't really know how to do influencer marketing right, but they feel like they have to do it, and they're abandoning traditional marketing fundamentals. They're not targeting, they're not measuring, they're just looking for something where they can put a check mark next to, and they assume that if they're working with a reputable platform, one that's raised venture capital money or one that works with big influencers, then all the work's being done for them. But the truth is, the platforms are worried about making money, and they're doing that by raising prices and getting a lot of influencers jobs. They're not worried about whether the brand really gets a great result.
Yeah, I mean, great point there. But it just seems like this one could have been it seemed like it could have been easy to discover that the brand or the agency or the platform did absolutely zero due diligence, just kind of hired them randomly. So what are kind of the lessons that we can learn from this?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is to look at the pages, click on the followers, look at the comments. Do the comments make sense? Is there an issue with the language? Are the identities of the people commenting, do they make sense? Are they the people that you want to be looking at? And, plug in for us, if you want to use the platform that actually tells you what's going on, then use a platform that actually looks at it for you. But at the very least, look at it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the comments, especially on these two profiles, it's pretty easy to see that the comments are fake and the engagement isn't real. I mean, it's super easy to tell. Now, I'm more sophisticated, you're more sophisticated than the average person looking at these profiles, but just a little bit of due diligence and they would have discovered it. Now, I don't think it's a major problem for the big influencers that are really well known. I mean, they could have some fake following, some fake engagement, and that's another step that we take to make sure that it's all real. But for micro-influencers, you got to be extremely careful. I mean, this was invented by a company called Media Kicks to prove that there's a lot of fake influencers that are out there. So, just investigate no matter what. Even if you have 100, investigate these influencers, because you don't want to just throw money away. It wasn't a lot of money, But if it gets into $1,000, $2,000 an influencer, you want to start investigating pretty heavily.
Well, where there's money, there's fraud, and we saw in 2014, Instagram did the famous purge, and some of the biggest influencers in the world lost millions of fake followers, whether they bought them or they just got them, who knows. But at the end of the day, we see it with the big guys and the small guys. With the small guys, it's not surprising. We see it in all ad tech related industries. We see these Chinese farm bots that will push apps up in the App Store rankings. We'll see fake clicks. So why wouldn't you see it with influencers? And I think it's more predominant than we think. We looked at disclosures, and what we saw was that a tremendous amount of smaller influencers fake having a sponsored post going on. So they'll tag a brand, they'll put on disclosures even though they don't even work with the brand. And they're trying to create this appearance of an influencer. So why wouldn't they go the next step and also pay a really, really small amount to get a big amount of followers and this fake engagement that's easy to spot if you look, but is hard to spot if you glance.
Yeah, some excellent points. Very good, Gil. With that, we're going to wrap that up. If you have any comments, concerns, questions, please place them in the notes below. Gil, where can they reach you and Hyper Brands?
I'm Gil at hyperbrands.com. Shoot me an email anytime.
Thanks, Gil.
Thanks, Mark.